Hey guys, Gerard here. We are in the 8-valve performance engine building room. This is where all the magic happens, and today we're going to chat about piston to valve clearance, how to check it. So yeah, stay tuned. Okay guys, so we are building an engine for a track car, and we are running 13.3 to 1 compression ratio on F-gas, flat top. So it's basically a custom built bottom end, and on an 8-valve flat top piston, that's how we get the compression higher. And we want to make sure the valve and the piston does not touch, because that's going to be a problem. Because it's custom, we have to check and make sure it's right. We also want to make sure how much clearance there is, so that we know how far we can advance and retard the cam. If we need to play on the dyno, we know the tuner knows how far he can go. So that's very important. So you got your basic stuff. We want to dummy assemble the head, so we just want to put it onto the block, and we just want to bolt it down. You don't have to torque it down, just bolt it down nice and tight. And yeah, that's obviously with a putty in place. So it's very simple. You're basically going to bolt down the head, put all your timing in, turn the motor around. That's how easy it is. But we're just going to add some clay or putty, whatever you want to use. So we like to use this clay. It's not too soft. It keeps it. It's fairly rough to push, and it keeps its textures very strong. So if you squeeze it, you can see I'm squeezing, and it stays like that. You don't want to go too soft. If you want to, you can. You know, for maybe you got like a very thin valve stem and you're scared you bend the valve, you know, when you're compressing the clay, that's also something to consider. So maybe then you want to go thinner, but in this case we like to use this because it presses it and keeps the texture. Okay, very important. The piston should be dry, so you want to wipe it off with some thinners or something. It must be dry before you put the clay on. And yeah, because you want the clay to stick to the piston. So let's get to that. Okay guys, very important. The piston was dry. I wiped it down with thinners before I put the clay on. Make sure you play with the clay till it's soft enough, you know, so that you can compress it. You want the clay to stick to the piston so that when the valves turn, it doesn't lift the clay. And then you want to rub some oil on the valve, on the clay, so that when the valve touches the oil, it comes off of the clay and it leaves the clay on top of the piston. You want it to make an imprint and leave that imprint, not lift the clay. So that is very important. So also on the valve, we put some oil on the valve. And then what's also very important is before you put the head on, you reverse the piston a little bit. So the overlap of the valve, or if there's any valves that are open, these valves do not get pushed into the pistons. So we're going to put the head on, tighten it down, and then we're going to bring the piston back up. And we always go down, reverse it backwards, so that we go forwards to bring the piston up. Okay, safety for valves. We got our head gasket in, the putty's done right, the oil's at the right places, dry at the right places, cam belt's on. The intake cam is slightly advanced. We just take that into consideration. And now we're going to turn the engine. It's as easy as that. Okay. So that's one. Let's go one more. You don't want to go too much. Standing a chance for the putty to get lifted up somewhere. But yeah, let's take it off and see. Again, just a quick side note. I'm going to turn the bottom end backwards a little bit so that this piston's going down a bit, so that when I do remove the head, I eliminate the chance of scraping the putty off or making a mistake. And there you have it. We have more than enough space there. You can see there is the dish of the intake valve. The exhaust valve is fairly flat. Let's measure that. Let's get a vernier out here and see what that size is at, just for interest's sake. So I'm going to measure here on the piston top, but I want to catch it on the chamfer, somewhere there. That's the lowest part of the valve. Let me go behind it. Open it up again. That's more than enough. I'm going to squish it in there to the flat part. 6 more. More than enough to advance and retard. Exhaust now is sitting at, call it 5 more. So we got more than enough space here. Now, this is fairly easy and straightforward. Sometimes you get a more technical piston. it pops up, the valves push into the pockets, you know. So now you want to do is you want to push the clay in deep there. You want to push the clay in deep there. That's very important because you want to see where the valve squishes. If the valve is nice by the pocket, if it's offset to the pocket, maybe you need to not cut the pocket deeper, but bigger open for more valve clearance. So after you've done this exact same thing, but on a multi-valve, you're just going to basically cut it without trying to move the clay, and you're going to cut and you're going to scrape a piece away so that you can check in from the side. I'm going to see now if I got an old picture to show you what I mean there, and then you can see how deep the pocket is, where the valve sits, how much space there is from the side there of the pocket, you know, to the valve, you know. So it's still on the same concept. You just have to take a little bit more things into consideration. But yeah, that's it, straightforward. Any good engine builder must do this when they build a custom engine. It doesn't matter if a guy tells you do this, it's fine. If you build an engine and you're a good engine builder, this must be done so that you know, you can tell the tuner, you can advance it 3 mil if it's even possible. You can retard it 1 mil, you know, you can go crazy. There's enough space. Now let's say you got a 2-liter import motor, a 2E or 80Y AGG, something like that, or a 20 valve, something like that, and you just rebuilding the motor. The deck heights are standard, the piston heights are standard, and you skim the head, (1 to (2), and I honestly don't think that you must do a piston to valve clearance check. I honestly don't think so. If you want to do it, do it. You're learning, it's fun, just do it. You know, you're getting something out of it. I don't think you have to. But when you start building custom motors and the pistons pop up and it's a flat piston and you're putting a big cam, you know, with a lot of lift, it is very important to do this. Even if you feel it's safe, but you're not 100% sure, do this, because now you know it's safe. We know now what we can do. Let's say we want to drop it down even more, you know, somebody's got an idea. We know now, okay, we've got this much room to play with. This is safe. So you got your engine set up and everything ready. With a putty, you're about to turn it, and it doesn't want to turn. What do? Don't force it. Common sense. You either going to bend valves or something's wrong. You might have put too much putty. Maybe put a little bit less. You need enough. You can't put too little. But if you put too much, it's a problem. Maybe it's not soft enough. You need to make sure it's soft enough for the engine to be able to compress it. Or a valve's just touching a piston already. I can't tell you how much clearance you're going to need for your setup. Everything's different. How much material's there that's going to swell up. How long is the valve stem? How thick is it? You know, maybe you need 2 mil clearance. Who knows? Maybe you need 3 mil. In our case, maybe 1 mil's really pushing it. It might touch when it gets hot. Maybe 2 mil safer. I don't know what's going to work for you in your setup. Something important, if you are working with a hydraulic lifter and you've bled it and the lifter is bled completely, remember to check your lifter clearance. Let's say it's 0.5, and then you know when the lifter and when the oil pressure kicks in and the lifter is going to pump up, you need to add 0.5 to the valve lift or whatever your lifter clearance is in your case. If it's hydraulic, if it's solid, you don't need to worry about that. Do your cam dialing first before you do the putty test, especially on multi-valve or where there's 2 cams. Do your dialing first, make sure it's right, what the cams need, then you do your piston to valve clearance. You want to give the cams and the head setup what it needs to make as much power as you can. You don't want to retard a cam because the piston's not allowing for that lift, because you're going to move backwards in horsepower. We don't want to move backwards in horsepower unless that's what you're looking for and that's what you want to do. You know, then obviously you know what you're doing. You're doing it according to your setup that you want. You know what you're doing. But ideally, naturally aspirated, most power's out of the head, the cams, the intake, the exhaust, so on. So you want to give the cam the dialing spec that it needs, and then make sure there's enough space on the piston, on the pocket, so that the valve can move there, because that's what it's want to do for the horsepower that you want to make. You don't want to put in nice cams that's going to make horsepower and retard them, you know, and take the capability, power that they can make. You want to take it away because you don't want to pocket your pistons or make space for the valve to turn. So yeah, then big shout out to Sorrel. Thank you very much for allowing me to use your engine building room. Appreciate that a lot. And thank you for Simba for getting everything ready for me. Anyway, guys, Thank you so much, and yeah, have a lekker one.